Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim, and our guest today is Andrew. So, Andrew, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So I currently live in Nashville, Tennessee, and at the moment I am co-founder and head of growth for Purple Pepper Commerce, which is an e-commerce marketing agency.
Awesome. So, how did you get the idea to start this business?
Yeah, so it's a long and winding way, but what essentially happened is I kind of fell into the Amazon space like I think a lot of people did. Started on the customer service team at a company and just, eventually found my way onto the Amazon team back in 2016, 2017. Really kind of saw a lot of opportunity in the platform and saw a lot of interest. So kind of dove deep into there, kept that going, eventually started to manage and lead the Amazon channel at another company, really grew that. The founder ultimately left that business, and I really wanted to keep that entrepreneurial spirit growing. So wanted to take this love and fascination with Amazon, turn it into an agency, and really take that experience and knowledge and help a lot of other businesses and brands with what we
Yeah.
do.
Well, yeah, I mean, so obviously, like on Amazon, there's so many different types of products, so many different SKUs. So, I guess in terms of like, what do you work with most? Are there like certain niches or verticals within Amazon, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so we work across a number of categories, across a number of markets. What we have found is that the central theme point is the Amazon channel. So what we've really become is the experts are really fat or really great at that channel. We can apply that to apparel, baby products, food, beauty products, automotive, USA, UK, Australia. Like really it can be applied to anything, but it's that channel expertise that we've really kind of honed in on.
For sure. And obviously, like on Amazon, there are products with different price points, things like that. So do you look for a certain like average price point, certain margin to where it makes sense to engage or do PPC?
Yeah, we're very open. We've worked with very expensive products. We've also worked with products ranging from like $3 to $10. We kind of see it as a challenge. I know a lot of people, if you kind of see the general advice, they like to stick within like a $15 to $30 price point because like from a theoretical economic P&L standpoint, that makes a lot of sense as like a private label brand, but there's challenges and strategies with each. And so that's part of the nuance we like to find with the platform and really figure those out. So
For
no,
sure.
any price is fine.
Yeah, and there's obviously lots of challenges, right? Because oftentimes, you can come in and have like a new product. Amazon might come in and make similar, somebody else might come in that can make knockoffs and try to dilute your product or put into your business. So how do you kind of minimize that and continue to scale when these things do come in? I mean, do you recommend like new products or new SKUs, or what's your advice for that?
Yeah, totally. Everything depends on the goal of the brand. So everything we do is funneled through what are you ultimately wanting to achieve? Where do you want to go? And then most importantly, how much are you willing to put in there? So, if someone's willing to get to the same spot, but they want to do it in 3 months versus 2 years, the solution is going to be different. So it really depends on that. Typically what we find is that if either a brand has no real brand awareness, and so a lot of people are jumping on because of that, we'll help them build up the brand. If they are a very popular brand, it tends to be there's a lack of distribution. So we also help them manage that. But at each different stage, there's little strategies that we can take to help kind of mitigate and make sure your brand's protected or your brand is built up so that people don't.
Right. And like you mentioned also that if you're working across different markets and different countries, so how do those markets differ? Because obviously that there's some similarity that they're both on Amazon, but consumers are different countries. So I'm always, curious about, what that looks like for you.
Yeah. One of the interesting things that I don't know if a lot of people make the connection is that Amazon is actually quite a bit like Google in how it performs. And so it is brand and customer based, but it's also very search based and search intent based. So what we've actually found is that going across country, we really like to dive into the data, dive into the keywords, and let those sort of dictate our strategies and the other marketplaces. If we're working with a brand as well, and they've been established in that marketplace, we'll take what they've learned and then layer that on top of the Amazon data. But if a brand is just expanding into a new country without any of that experience, we'll start with the data from Amazon, learn who that shopper and that customer is, through the queries and through the customer data, and then we'll layer on any insights from that.
Makes sense. And then have you worked, like you mentioned, English speaking countries? Like, have you worked in countries where English is not their main language?
Yes. So we've done a little bit of that. Again, when that happens, we'll rely on the brand as much as we can for sort of that top level advice, but we also really heavily rely on the data. Also, another interesting thing as well is it's not just, let's say, like English and Japanese, but also the vernacular is very different in English speaking countries. So search terms that people use in the US are very different than they would use in UK. So even if it's the same language, we still dive into the data and try to figure out where people are looking for things.
If somebody's launching a brand, right? I mean, obviously they can go sell direct to consumer from their website versus Amazon. Like, where do you kind of recommend, where people kind of want to go and do both? Like, how does that work in your mind?
Yeah, totally. Again, it all comes back to the brand and the brand's goals. But how we usually explain it is that you've got two vectors to work off of. So you've got time and you've got profit. So if you want to go really hard and aggressive, we can help you with that. If you want to kind of ease into it over a longer period of time, we can help you with that as well. It really just depends. And the thing with Amazon is that there's not a right or a wrong way. It really just depends on the brand, but it is very nice in the fact that you can do an aggressive launch. You could ease into it. So you really have the option to do whatever strategy you want to.
Right. So you're saying that if some people kind of want to go for both and launch aggressively on Amazon and launch also direct to consumer, that it's possible.
Yeah, totally. I've seen it all different ways be successful. I've seen people launch both websites simultaneously. I've seen people launch on their website and then do Amazon later. I've seen people launch on Amazon only and then add in retail and their website after the fact. So again, it really anything can work. It's not that there's a right or wrong way to do it. It's just how much does a brand want to do it? What are they interested on? What are they focused on? Their goals.
For sure. And obviously now we're in 2025. So Amazon is always changing policy. There's always new rollouts. So what are some of the biggest changes that you're seeing in this year that people who want to get on Amazon or who are on Amazon should be like on the lookout for?
Yeah, sure. The biggest thing is that every single year, people are always, it seems like everyone has a very short term memory. The same conversation had in 2025 is actually very similar in principle to what it was in 22, 20, 18, 16. The things are different and things are changing, but the mentality is the same. So as many challenges exist, there are still as many opportunities. The biggest thing, though, I would say more tactically for a brand is that branding is really important. And Amazon is becoming very much a pay to play platform.
Right.
So while opportunities exist, if you want to do it aggressively, you need to be smart about it. And you need to spend the time, or if you don't have the money, you need to spend the time to understand the platform. If you don't have the time but do have the money, it is worthwhile to work with someone who can help guide you through that process. But the
For
opportunities
sure.
are still for sure there.
100%. So obviously you're in a very crowded space. So how do you kind of go about like differentiate yourself from like other competitors in the market? Or even like how have you kind of grown this business and gotten clients and scaled up to kind of where you're at today?
Yeah. Way back when I started, I used to think saturation in a market was really a terrible thing. But I think it just depends. What I've actually learned is that saturation means there's a ton of demand for something. And so if you can provide a good service and be reliable, it's actually, you can really rise up within that level of demand and, word of mouth starts to take over. So a lot of what we've done, or I've had a lot of experiences with agencies as part of the brand side. And a lot of my experiences were I was not very impressed with numerous agencies and especially agencies that had these like high awards, had these high accolades. It was just like, it's not the agency or the awards. It ultimately comes down to the work and the daily and weekly execution. And that got my mind into thinking, I don't care what the award is. I just care what is happening on the day-to-day basis. Like, so that's sort of what we focus on. Every time we work with someone, we focus on the little details that make people successful. And every time that we partner with a business, we make sure that we treat it like we're part owners of the business. So, we've had many clients who have wanted to work with us. We've been, we just don't think Amazon's right for you at this time. So we'll actually turn them away. So we always kind of look through the lens of what is best for the business. And that viewpoint has allowed us to be really successful with our partners. We've had some clients now for over a couple of years since we really started to do this. They feel very much like we're intertwined with their business. And so that's sort of the mentality that we've kept and that has made us successful.
It's amazing. So do you like go to like lots of conferences and speak at, conferences or running ads? Like what is like, do you do any of those things or is it more of just like early on that you got some clients, got them good results and it's been more of like word of mouth from like those clients?
Yeah. So we're actually in that stage trying to figure that out at the moment. So a lot of this has been built up by word of mouth and referrals at the moment. So, part of what we're actually trying to figure out is what's that next growth engine on top of our business? Do we want to keep doing that? Do we start to do a lot of content? But if we do that, is that going to grow the business too far beyond like a boutique kind of feel? So, those are great questions, and we're actually trying to figure that out in the moment.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's always many companies hit that kind of like inflection point. And, in terms of scaling, it's like what makes the most sense always can be like a big challenge. So, in terms of, what you've done, right? Like in your career or even like this business, if you could go back in time to before you got started, like what is one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew before then?
Yeah. There's this Elon Musk quote that has stuck with me for a long time. And it's really simple. It's just like be really useful. Just like do useful things. The moment that I really started to think of that, I think of that in every conversation. I think of that in every interaction, every job or partnership or whatever. I'm just like, what is really useful to the other person here or really valuable to them? And let that be the sole question that I just kind of force every perspective or action or comment within. That has been really helpful in my career. And I wish I had just done that earlier. That would have made things a lot easier. But typically that's what we do. Yeah.
Awesome. So, if we're going to have this conversation again in 1 year from now, where do you see things going for your business?
Yeah, good question. So for 2025, what we're really focused on is getting the agency to a point where the business feels really solid. What we're actually focused on at the moment is those fine details. So internally, building a lot of processes. How are we operating like a smooth running machine? I feel really confident about that. We're also looking at acquiring another business, a product business sometime this year. We acquired one last year, so we really want to grow
Awesome.
those businesses as well. And yeah, just making sure that we're growing, but also functioning really well. And then agency revenue wise, we're looking to probably 2 or 3x the agency this year.
Amazing. So, if somebody
Yeah.
watching this wanted to reach out or they wanted to work with you, what's your website or best way to get in contact?
Yeah. So Purple Pepper Commerce is the name of our agency. So just search that. You can go to our website or you can find me on LinkedIn and reach out and happy to get in touch.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, thanks so
Cool.
much for your time today.
Yeah, appreciate it, Dan. Thanks so much.